Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer action. We're here today with the Beastmen, gonna be taking on the proud Dawi here. So this is a variation of a build that Slade X recently took in one of the recent South Sea Mercenary League qualifiers, which by the way, if you haven't checked those out, be sure to do so. The idea here is we've gone maximum monstrous infantry, so we've got 5 monstrous infantry in total, 3 chaos spawn with 2 shielded minotaurs. I've got Morgar the Shadowgave for some additional chaos spawn summons, so 7 monstrous infantry in total, plus 2 manticores and 2 cygors potentially on summon from the 2 casters as well. I've just got a cheap Ungor herd for a front line, couple of raiders for some ranged option, and a nice flanking force of some Razorgore herd here. My dwarf opponent has a pretty wide build, lots of dwarf warriors, lots of miners. He's got Gotrek plus Belagar here, so these two are going to try and grind through a lot of units with all of this kind of chaff here. He does have some elite units as well. Pete Gateguard here, looks like some Slayers also. So yeah, I'm going to try and bait out some of these blasting charges on some of my non-high value units, but I definitely don't want to take the blasting charges on these poor goat archers, and they do get blasted in this instance here. Unfortunately, do take a lot of HP damage there. Thankfully, didn't take down too many unit models, but still, Razorgore herd come in for a nice flank over here, get a good charge on these miners, and we're going to leave them in momentarily and then pull them away, hopefully before they can enrage. But yeah, getting some really nice armor-piercing damage done. Since those miners don't have the charge defense, I can charge them in the face. And the dwarf warriors know, I'm not subject to their charge defense necessarily, but we're going to make a big push. Now, we've got the Manticore active, we've got our 3 heroes coming forward. They're trying to break this line. My goal here is to just not eat all of the blasting charges in the face, right? Because although these Ungor the regular Ungors, not really meant to do a lot of damage here, I do need the supporting infantry to be able to soak hits, especially against stuff like the Slayers and so on. I do take some blasting charges over here, but that's okay. We're going to get the spawn in, get some of the monstrous infantry rolling, and you can see that Cygor summon already coming into play here. I do see that Gotrek is, he comes forward a little bit isolated here without too much infantry support. There's just one unit of miners here. Belagar's not anywhere nearby, so I'm going to try and focus him down with my 2 shamans and with Morgar here. Now, that is going to cost me pretty significantly. You can see one of my shamans is already getting beat. The brakes, getting the brakes beat off of him, the Brave Shaman of Wild here. But we did pull up a Cygor, thankfully, just because I thought he was going to die, so I wanted to go ahead and put that on the field. And you can see, just because of the summons, we're on a huge power spike on the balance of power here. Dwarves are resilient, though. They'll be able to hold out for some time. Miners here fighting. Pete Gateguard are trying to reinforce against these Ungor herd and these Minotaurs here. Over here, the Razorgore herd are enraged, so one of them at least. Not going to be able to pull out of combat there, but the Chaos Spawn providing that nice poison effect and everything. Belagar comes in with his Mighty Oath Stone, rallies, trying to rally the troops here with that ability, and yeah, Revenge Incarnate as well will allow him to punch pretty hard here. Should be able to get some good hits. Ooh, nice headbutt taking down a Minotaur there. Very good stuff. So we'll see. Balance power obviously falsely inflated quite a bit from these summons, but miners have taken the toll here. A lot of miners on the field and a lot of dwarf warriors as well. Don't have the best combat stats in the world, but you can see the defense here. The 40 defense on these guys. What do the great weapons have? 30 defense. They're able to hold out okay. Only 36 attack on the regular chaos spawn here. The spooky beast spawn, but we do have plenty more, thankfully. Pete Gateguard here did come in and do a ton of damage, but just got a secondary summon on them. Was trying to focus fire with my archers on them as well, and yeah, they just got absolutely cut to pieces. Got a few kills, did some decent damage, but you can see my monstrous infantry has all taken a lot of damage, but they're all still fighting. I mean, obviously, Chaos Spawn being unbreakable is certainly very helpful in this type of a situation. But the shielded Minotaurs, one of the reasons I preach the shielded Minotaurs so much is because of that melee defense. In a grind fight like this, it makes such a difference. And, I mean, certainly there is an argument to be made that having the higher damage output just to make the fight shorter overall, there is certainly merit to that argument. But for myself, typically I prefer to run the shielded Minotaurs route. And, yeah, it's not looking great for the Dawi here. We do have a second Chaos Spawn summon coming up here. The Warriors Dragonfire Pass holding desperately here with Belagar and the rest of the units pretty much all terror routed away at this point. Relatively quick victory for the Beastmen, but that's just kind of how it goes. This matchup can potentially be pretty tough for the Dwarves. There are some things you can try and do to help mitigate against something like this, but we'll kind of talk about that a little bit more in the end screen. As it is, we're just going to soak up the beauty of this beautiful build, and big thanks, by the way, to Slade. If I can remember, I'll have a link down in the description below, or if you guys want to look, I do have a playlist on my channel for the South Sea Mercenary League, so you can check that out. I believe it was qualifier number 2, I want to say, where he took that build in round 1 against Wicked, and it was absolutely brutal. Just all of this monstrous infantry is so much to deal with. Very much reminds me of Ogre Kingdoms. I am very excited. Ogre Kingdoms probably, they are the faction, maybe one of the factions I'm most excited for. I would say out of the Demons of Chaos possible factions, I'm a Tzeentch guy, so I'm excited about that. But as far as like the rest goes, I'm very excited for Ogre Kingdoms because, I mean, just look at this. This massive herd of monstrous infantry just running around, absolutely plowing all of the orcs here. Belegar holding out his best. Gotrek long ago has fallen to the shamans, and Morgur himself. Morgur took a ton of damage in that fight, but Belegar has held out like an absolute champ while the rest of his forces get cleaned up here. Chaos Spawn, there's only a handful left there. Let's see, 2. Yeah, I mean, I took horrendous losses for sure on the Chaos Spawn, but you can see again the difference here that melee defense makes. Just make a note, right? They have similar armor stats. I mean, I guess the Minotaur with shield specifically have 45, which is quite a bit more, but that 48 melee defense helps them hold out, and 6 models there. The other unit still has 10 unit models left in the late game, which is just so many. So that's why I evangelize for the shield Minotaurs, guys. Certainly there are situations where you can make the other ones work, and maybe there's an argument to be made that they're better in very niche situations, but just generally, as a kind of rule of thumb, I would say you're almost always better off with the shielded version. And this is a big reason why. They'll stick around for something like this. Speaking of which, I believe, yeah, that's going to be it. Belegar goes ahead and admits defeat there, and that's going to be the end. So, well played to my opponent. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching that one. Yeah, you can see that the losses on the Chaos Spawn were pretty significant, but just having the mass there and the disruption, because the Chaos Spawn's splash attacks kind of send dwarves flying all over the place, even if you don't necessarily quote-unquote connect on the hits and deal damage to them, you're still disrupting them, so it's hard for them to really get attacks in significantly. The Minotaurs are really the ones here dealing the damage. You can see both started out with 1 XP Chevron, both able to get a secondary XP Chevron over the course of the battle, which is just excellent. 77 kills and 108 there. The pigs also providing some nice DPS, and of course the summons, not really counted here, but they provide a lot of extra, damage as well. I mean, if you just consider if they even come close to these 50 kills of these Chaos Spawn, 50 plus kills, it's super solid considering that's 2 summons there, so potentially like 100 plus extra kills on Morgur there, and then of course the Manticore and the Cygor not to be discounted as well. So very fun stuff. And for the Dwarves, I like my opponent's build somewhat. I think it's a little bit too far into standard melee infantry. I think if you're going to go with a straight up infantry counter rush into Beastmen, it's not something that's completely impossible with Belegar, but I do think you're better off to go with more of a Slayer-centric build. Likewise, I would go Clan Angrand just to mess with your opponent's head. They're going to have to bring something that deals magic damage just in case you bring an Ethereal Thane, which is honestly not the worst idea. I mean, they have very low HP, so you have to be careful. Just having terror against Beastmen is super strong, right? But these guys are pretty expensive for what you get out of them. Unfortunately, not super usable. But Belegar, on the other hand, very cost-effective, so we can come in here. Revenge Incarnate, I don't know, maybe I would take this. I would more than likely probably just leave it off and take Mighty Oathstone only to make him as cheap as possible. Definitely going to want Gotrek here, and I would also recommend taking Felix, specifically just because Felix with Karagul absolutely deletes Morgur. Like, if you can get Felix into contact with Morgur with Karagul active, you will destroy him super, super fast. So it's worth having him for that reason and for the healing for that little hero squad as well. And then I would come in here and go pretty heavy on the Slayers, honestly, like 4 units of Slayers. With Belegar's little buff here, giving him extra melee defense and charge defense. There's also an argument to be made, you know, if you wanted to maybe cut Gotrek or Felix, bring a runesmith to give these guys armor and some damage resistance as well. That could also potentially work out decently. From there, I would always recommend at least 1 or 2 gyros in this matchup, the Brimstone gun specifically. Very good at taking down single entity chariots, and if you have the Dragonback Slayers, you're going to be getting some good synergy from that flammable effect in particular. They're just great against the Beastmen. You do need to protect them a little bit up in the air though, so I might grab a couple of Rangers just for that purpose, and then the rest will go to miners with blasting charges, perhaps. Something like this. I might come in and fine-tune this a little bit here and there, but something like this, I just think you go very heavy into the Slayers here if you're trying to infantry counter-rush. And even, you know, infantry counter-rush, I would say you might even want to go lighter on the ranged units to bring maybe even more blasting charges. Potentially, you could bring the ROR here that has multiple volleys of blasting charges. So you can really clear out as much infantry as you can with this, and then you follow up with the anti-large to deal with the monsters. You know, there's kind of some different things you can do here, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. It's definitely an interesting matchup, and although a lot of people would say that the Beastmen are a hard counter to the Dwarves, I kind of see where they're talking, what they're talking about with that, but honestly, I think the Gyros are a bit of an unsung hero in this matchup, and even the Bombers, believe it or not, if you can protect them from Harpies, which isn't super hard to do. Obviously, it depends on how heavily your opponent goes into the Harpies, but if you can protect something like a Bomber, I mean, you can destroy single entity chariots exceptionally fast at short range with this main missile gun. Missile gun, yeah, that makes sense. Main missile attack, the main gun here. So anyway, that's enough for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.